Welcome, everybody, to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today we welcome back Ryan Johnston. Ryan, how are we doing, buddy?
Doing pretty good. How are you, Jody?
Doing pretty good. Now, along with the rest of everybody watching, tell me something. This is the seventh annual Fallen Heroes event, correct?
Seventh year we've done it. It's the sixth one because we had to switch. Actually, how we got the NatFit Midwest Open started was Fallen Heroes was supposed to be 2020, the fifth one, and we just started NatFit because I had my baby the Friday of the weigh-ins, and then COVID. We weren't really sure how it was going to go. So
Right.
seventh year doing it. So hard to explain, but that's the easiest way to do it.
Nice. Now, what makes your tournament unique is that not only do all proceeds go to that situation, but from an arm wrestling standpoint, you bring in some of the best talent around, and they all migrate to the central part of the country and stuff. So I was real fortunate to attend last year. Thank you very much, by the way, for the invitation. And not going to be able to do it this year, but the array of talent that comes there. We're talking Cody Merritt, the Rush Shredders, Bo Olsen's pretty much a hometown guy. Roger Learn came over from the East Coast last year, so it's a who's who. Tell me something. What do you have in store? Can you talk about the matches coming up this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make matches around here because in Kansas City, within 4 hours, we have some of the best pullers in the country. Some of the best in the world. Just around Kansas City that I train with pretty consistently. We have Don Underwood, Stephen Logsden, Bill Logsden. We have Nick Zena, Bowles, and like you said, myself, I'm pretty decent. We have Brian Kerner, lightweight guy. Ethan Fritchie, whenever he's involved with it, hopefully he's going to make a comeback one of these days. Stephen Green, Russ Schrader within 3 hours, and we have Cody Dollar. Up north we have Kevin Harris. We have Brent Rockers about 4 hours away. Those are just guys I can rattle off. Chase Stratton down in Springfield, Missouri, about 3 hours away. So those are just the guys off the top of my head. So going from that, it's pretty easy to say, hey, do you want to come pull Stephen Green? Hey, do you want to come pull Don Underwood? Kind of get guys' attention, kind of build matches off of that, and then try and make some marquee matches. This year we have some up-and-coming guys. We have a guy named Austin Tevis. He recently beat Bill Logsden. Spoiler alert for the Lock and Loaded event, but Austin didn't end up making it to the finals. But he beat Bill, which is a pretty big win. And then before that, he beat Roman Gromov. He's heavier than Roman, but anybody who's ever pulled Roman knows that doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And he's getting some good. He has literally the strongest hand I've ever felt, even for a heavyweight. Just natural hand strength. He's a granite installer, so he carries granite around.
Right.
So Austin's involved this year. We had Matt Craig reach out to me from Texas. He said, hey, I'd like to come. He came a couple of years ago and enjoyed the event. So he said, I'm free that weekend. I'd love to come. You got a match for me? And I said, absolutely. I got a new guy on Tevis. Matt knew who he was. And he's like, I'm in. I want to see what this guy's all about. Easy enough to set that match up. Austin Tevis versus Matt Craig. Left-handed match, best of 5. Austin's currently ranked top 15 at 190, and Matt's currently ranked at 76. I think he's the number 1 left-handed puller out of Texas, which is a big market. So that's a pretty good match that I thought kind of just came out of thin air. And I would say, just experience-wise, Matt's the favorite, but Austin has the intangibles of not much tape on him. Don't really know what to expect. If you never pulled against his hand and his side pressure, you don't know what to expect there. But his hand is strong enough to hold Don Underwood in a top roll, just for an example. And he's 190 pounds. So just raw talent there. Been doing it less than a year.
So that's the thing, because that's what makes that matchup so unique. Like you just said, hey, his hand is strong enough to hold Don Underwood. I've gripped up with Don so many times. His hand is solid and it's thick. So for a guy like Tevis to hold Don stuff, I'm telling you, man, that's big time stuff over there. And yes, on paper, it looks like, oh, okay, Matt Craig might be the favorite. But this is why on paper means nothing. It's just on paper. You actually got to sell it on the table. And I think when you get those ties, those two individuals on it lock up, it's going to be awesome. So that's an intriguing matchup. Who else do you have on the card?
these are kind of starter matches. So we have a guy out of Indiana named Sam Fritsch that I know personally. He actually won the strongest badge tournament at 198 in 2020. I know that because I was undefeated until I went up against Sam. And 198, I walk around about 185, but I didn't want to cut to 76. So
right.
198, walking through the tournament, go up against this guy, bald guy with a beard, looks strong. Go straight inside with him, and I don't lose inside very often, but he got me. And then he beat a guy named Eli from Wisconsin and won that event, which strongest badge is a pretty big event. So
yeah,
he reached out to me. He's about 230 now and trains with Mike West and Austin Jagers. So I was like, absolutely, I want to see what you can do, because you should be better, more well known than you are, because he wins most events he shows up to. So
right.
We have a guy out of Springfield named Dalton Cross. Been pulling quite a while. It's about 3 hours south. Trains with he's actually Chase Stratton's cousin. He's been training with Cole Holliday and the guys down in Springfield in southern Missouri for years now. Strong top roll puller, kind of opposite ways of pulling. Sam can top roll, but I think he's strongest in a hook. So that's just contrasting styles. I thought that'd be a good match to get both those guys on a card, and they've been doing it long enough. I feel like they deserve a little bit of attention. I definitely say Sam's the favorite there, but Dalton, has a lot more experience than Sam, so that should give him a little bit of an advantage as far as different situations.
Nice. I mean, and that's awesome too. I think what was also good about this event, what you do, aside from the obvious, is you also give people opportunity to be on a platform. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I always try to give guys their chance to, come in and make a name. Even big name super matches, I always try to find the guys that are up and coming. It's weird to say it, but Mike Aiello at the first couple of events, he was on Game of Arms, but he was the big, New Yorker firefighter, known for being an elite arm wrestler. Well, I invited him out for a few years, and he just came out, started crushing everybody, and next thing you know, he's top dog, and I think he's dealing with back injuries right now and kind of healing up, but I guarantee he gets back to form. And after that, it was Corey West. Everybody knows Corey West now. He's been taking names, going overseas, beating guys, pulling great matches with big name overseas pullers. But a couple of years ago, he came up and pulled Don Underwood, pulled Nick Zena the next year. He's our current top world champion at the heavyweight. So I always try to give those guys a platform to get their name out there. And plus, those guys are more willing to come and, pull at a charity event, because I don't have a budget, like the big promoters. So I try to give them some money for travel if I can. Or, a lot of the time, up and comers will come out here for the opportunity, which I always really appreciate. So, like you said, I always try to get those on the card.
Yeah, I'm at a point now, year number 12 in the sport, and you sit back, and yes, it's always good to go to tournaments. Hey, to get that match, hey, to be put on the stage on a tournament. I'm going to one next week, but I also am proud that I'm able to compete at fundraising events and benefits and stuff like that, because then you kind of go, okay, you know what? The reason why I like those, because there's no pressure. You know what I mean? Like, if I go 2 and out at a benefit tournament or a fundraising tournament, I don't really care, because I know I'm there for a reason. I know I'm there for a good cause. So there's no pressure. It's me to have fun, talk to some of my friends. Hey, what's going on? How's everything? How's life? How's the family, kids, blah, 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 and things like that. So, your event's one of those things. It's for a good cause. I was there last year, and I can't, tell everybody watching that I was you guys, the Midwest, welcomed me with open arms. I was like, wow, I mean, because I've never been there before. So, heading there, you rolled out the red carpet for me. I appreciate that. We went down to the bar and stuff, and, we're doing the sign-ins, and people start coming in. We're just chit-chatting. It's almost like like I've always said, it's always like a fraternity, if you may, and you're rubbing elbows with everybody, you're kicking it, chit-chatting, just talking shop and stuff. And I kind of like that. It doesn't have to be just pent up aggression and frustration and things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I agree 100%. I try to make these events prestigious with the awards and the super matches going on. And, it's a charity event at the end of the day. So I want people to come and have something to compete for. So I get these axes and these nice awards, because I can spend $3,000 on awards, but if I gave out $3,000, that ends up being $200 for each class. It's just not enough to get attention. So these awards, it seems like a lot of people have seen these axes now. Everybody wants an axe. I have a wall full of axes now, and they're the most impressive awards that I have almost. And then I got these huge skeleton resin trophies that are just skeleton warrior knight. And that's going to be first place this year. They're 16 inches tall. They weigh a few pounds. They're high quality awards that are going to look great on anybody's trophy case. And then, super matches on top of that. I try to give everybody a show so they come and enjoy, they want to come see these matches in person. Just a lot of different things go into these events. And I'm glad you enjoyed it last year. I always try to, give everybody the Midwest welcome when they come out, especially when you come and you pulled a super match last year. And even if you weren't, I try to, if you take the time to come to my event, I try to give you, that feeling that you're part of the group here, because I want Kansas City to be the center of arm wrestling as much as it can, because we have so many good arm wrestlers around here. And, it's in the center of the country. It's one of the easiest places to get to. So I want people to feel confident that if they come to Kansas City, they're going to get one of the best events and one of the best ran events in the country. And, as far as I know, everybody always leaves feeling that way.
Another thing that touch base on that. So when I was there, and I'm going to tell everybody in the chat watching, Rush Trader's one of them. So when I was there and my match with Roger Learn, right? Now, there's two guys coming. One's coming from the Northwest, the other guy coming from the Northeast, and we met right smack dab in the middle of the country, So there were Roger Learn fans, there were Jody Williams fans, and what's good is that we get on the table, and I swear it's like the crowd took about 3 steps toward the table. That's what it felt like, and everybody was into it. Like people couldn't see it because, it was like kind of like standing room only, if that makes sense. And for all super matches, by the way, but I remember in my match, it was like almost a claustrophobic in a good way where, I'm sitting up there and, you got Brian Kerner reffing, you got Steven Logsdon reffing, you got all the guys reffing. Cody was reffing. So it's kind of like, okay, I kind of like this stuff. And then you got people in your corner that that some know you, some don't. And they're giving you advice and tips. And so for me, that's important because they don't have to do that. But I'm over there. I'm in the corner. I got Tim Thomas giving me a rub down. I got somebody in there going, dude, hey, don't suck into his hook. Try your top roll. See if you can, get your more riser up. It's little things like that make it awesome. Because when you have these super matches, and especially if you come by yourself or you bring maybe one teammate, you got other people giving you advice, which is good because sometimes, more often times than not, as you know, Ryan, there's some people that can see things out there and got a different view than what you see and do on the actual table. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. No, there's always people who are willing to jump in, especially in Kansas City. You just said the biggest one is always Steven Logsdon. He loves to coach. He loves to ref, and as long as he can separate it whenever he's reffing, he'll come up and tell you exactly what he thinks you need to do, almost to the point where I'm like, all right, calm down. I can tell this guy doesn't want to hear it right now because he's trying to figure out how to win.
Right.
He doesn't like your advice. But, it's always about, getting those extra viewpoints and making those connections because he does have valid advice sometimes. And, some guy may come up because you have Bill Oggs in the crowd too. You have, Don Underwood, you have Cody Merritt. These guys have been all over the world doing it for years and years. And they may be like, Jody, here's how you stay away from that hook.
Yeah.
Try this time. And it may just click in your head that way. So it's great. And, it's the community that I like to have around me. There's very few people I've met in this sport that I just don't like.
Right.
And, I think that's part of the way that I approach things is I'm welcoming, I think I picked you up from your hotel, and drove you to the venue last year. I never met you in person, but I was like, this guy needs a ride. No problem. I got some time. I'll go pick him up. We'll go hang out at the venue and have a good time. I'll get to know him better. And,
well,
you build friendships, build communication. Build those relationships that way.
Well, yeah, Ryan, but it also didn't help that I went to the wrong hotel. you
about that. Yeah.
Dude. So for those of you watching the show, so I get to the hotel and I think you had changed like, hey, there's a change of venue as far as the hotel. And I just saw the original post. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go here. I saved it on my phone. Cool, I'm here. And I'm sitting there in the lobby. I'm just kind of sitting there waiting. I'm thinking, man, to the point where the front counter desk lady came to me and go, do you know when your friend's supposed to be here? I'm like, oh yeah, it's on Ryan Johnston. Like, I don't see his name. I'm like, there's gotta be a mistake. And that's when I called you and go, dude, I'm at this hotel. You're like, oh yeah, no, it's not that one. It's like going, oh damn, so I can look back and laugh on it now because I was like going, here I am thinking, man, what's going on over here? I'm thinking, dang. And then you had told me, and then of course I get there, and then all of a sudden I got Brian Kern on the phone. Dude, you got to come to my house. I'm making these awesome steaks. I'm like, well, how far is it, man? Because like I didn't have a rental car, so I'm thinking, how far is it? Oh yeah, it's X amount of ways away. I'm thinking, I don't know, just I may have to take a rain check on that one, but because I had Uber and all that kind of stuff, I didn't want to deal with all that. But still though, it was fun. I mean, there's some good memories, right? I mean, hell, I mean, who doesn't want to do all that? So that kind of stuff.
I didn't feel as bad because at least I took you to a nicer marriage than where you're at. So
yes,
if I would have taken you some dump days in or something and been like, yeah, I got you a room here at the cheapest hotel in the place. No, I set you up at a Marriott. So that could have been a much different situation, but I'm glad that it all worked out and it's at least a funny memory for you.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes these road trips it's all about the memories. What do you remember about the trip, if nothing else, right? So, like for example, no, I was one spot away from getting one of those axes, and damn it, one of these years I'm gonna get one. But I did get the medals, though. I did.
Three. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm giving away axes, first, second, and third in the Masters division this year, man. I wish you could make it.
Damn it! Oh yeah, because I took first and second last year. Or no, I'm sorry, second and third. Sorry. I don't want to make Mark Nutch, upset. But yeah.
Dude, yeah, I mean, it's crazy because our Masters class was the most competitive class last year. So I was like, I got to give axes away. These guys have earned it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I got access for the Masters class, and I'm hoping you old guys show up. I told everybody, shine up your walkers and get in here. Let's see what's going on.
Well, it's funny because people ask me, Jody, how old are you? I said, you know what? I'm closer to 50 than to 40. So I'll be 47 in February. So and people think, like, really, you're that old? I'm like, yeah, I'm all 47 years old coming up pretty soon. But yeah, so I sit there and I go through all my awards and stuff. I'm like, here they are. So I got them intertwined, the medals I got last year, and it reminds me of, oh yeah, I remember I took the plane over there, first time being in in the actual heart of the country and stuff. And oh yeah, I went to the wrong hotel. And Ryan, sorry, dude, I'm here now. I had to pick me up, and you go there. It's always good memories, So yes, I enjoyed myself. I mean, especially, you had everybody come in. You had guys from Oregon, you guys from Pennsylvania, of course, Missouri, Kansas, Texas, I think Minnesota. I think Andrew, I forgot his last name. He pulled Cody Merritt.
Minnesota, Utah, Nevada. It's crazy. I think we had 20-something states. At one of my events, we had like 4 countries represented between, Eduardo Tiete came from Brazil. We had Noel Nunez from Puerto Rico. I think we had someone from Mexico, and then the United States, obviously. So, and then on top of that, we had probably 26 different states. I mean, I try to get a diverse showing because I try to get groups of pullers involved. Like Sam Fritz, we just went over his super match. Well, he's from Indiana.
Nice.
So I was like, all right, I get him involved. Hopefully he brings his group of guys, Mike West and whoever else they train with. It'd be great to have them. Then I get Oklahoma involved. I try to get Oklahoma guys to come up because, their guys pulling them. You get Matt Craig from Texas. Hopefully some of them see him come up, just kind of the strategy to get, how you approach promoting these things to build up the people who are involved.
Don't forget Kevin Harris, Roger Nowalski, and the boys from Nebraska too.
Oh yeah, no, they always come out. I love them. I actually hung out with them in LA at the LA Fit Expo for the super match that he had with Jake Smith, I believe. It was the longest grind. I thought Kevin Harris was going to have a heart attack afterwards. He laid down for about 30 minutes, and Roger and I were just trying to get him water. And, Jake Smith is an MMA fighter, so he's conditioned for that. Well,
right.
Kevin Harris closer to 60 than 50 to use your age parameters that you're just using. So it's like amazing super matches are all over the place. You just got to figure out how to make them.
Yeah, like I said, I like that, and hopefully next year I can make it. I know there's a few guys, I had in mind, I wanted to compete with. Russ Schrader, I love that guy to death. His name popped. You and I were talking. His name popped up, but he's coming back from an injury and stuff. Russ, I love you, my man. I need you to heal soon, 100%. Bo Olsen's name came up. He's also going through an injury. He's trying to recover from. Bo, if you're watching, you also, man, heal up 100%. So hopefully, next year, we can get all things all ironed out and stuff, and we can make that happen.
Oh yeah, they both decided to tear their biceps this year, so those should be good to go by next year. I think Russ just pulled a tournament, but he had his arm dangling off the side in front of him, so he still did pretty well. But whenever you can't grab that peg, it's a different world.
Yeah, that bugs me because it's like I understand you want to compete, but at what cost, And even if it's the arm you don't compete with, hell, Roger Learn just went through that. Did he not just break his arm and he's coming back now? It's like, it's a rough sport, and I don't wish upon any injury on anybody, but when you do get injured, at some point, because we're stubborn, we're competitors, it's what we do, right? Sometimes it's all about, okay, let's take a step back and kind of just reevaluate things. I got close friends who's broken their arms. If I'm talking with Paul Passmore, guys like that, it's like, dude, like, what the hell? Are you ready? Are you sure you're ready? Oh, I'll be okay. I'll just pull with the other arm. And it's like, you know your body better than I do. I don't want to tell you what to do, but I don't want to do is see you get injured even more. So I always, look away at that,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And, Russ, his bicep is healed enough, I think, to where he can, lift things, but he just holding on to the peg is a little bit too much pressure, and he doesn't want to risk it yet. So he just kind of laid it down in front of him and pulled. And, I think guys, like you said, know their bodies well enough to where they know whenever they can and can't do it. Who are we to tell them not to do something, I guess? But at least we don't have to deal with the injuries. I hope I never tear my bicep, that's for sure.
Right. I do think, even though with all that going on, I do think that there are other events in earshot distance, that could probably pull away from your event. And I know that I just feel like, and I don't know, last time I had you on the show, I don't know if I brought this up, but I feel like because 2020, the COVID year, we can call it that, I think when 2020 hit and a lot of events were canceled, and it was kind of like, all right, once we got the clear, green light to go ahead and have these events, it seemed like everybody was putting on an event. Like it almost seemed like people were stacking tournaments on top of another just to make up for lost time, I think. Do you think that might be true?
I think there's just too many promoters at the end of the day. I think that people are trying to make up for lost time. You're 100% correct. But even without COVID, we've had a full year plus where it hasn't, really been terribly restrictive. And we still get the stacking. It's not as bad. Like I think last year for Fallen Heroes, we had 7 events on the same day. This year, I just saw one scheduled out in California. That's 20, 30 hours away. So I'm not too worried about it. It just sucks because I like to get the West Coast involved as much as possible. Then I think we have one down in the Houston area. That's Texas State. And they're giving away a bunch of money, but, they're doing it to where they're only giving away to first place. So, is that going to draw that many guys away? Because whenever I see first place, money given away, I assume, okay, the top level guys are going to come win that money, and that's not really open to the lower level guys. So that might scare away more guys than they get, unfortunately. So it's just how they want to allocate their money. Like I said earlier, I allocate my money to awards because I had this conversation with Michael Todd. He gave me a call and was asking questions about my event. And we were just talking about how unless it's $10,000, I'll spend a few $100s before I get home and forget about this tournament. I'll always look at that axe and be like, yeah, I beat some asses that day. It was a great tournament. I got some good win. It's something like that. And even that, it's just, Michael agreed. And you can say what you want. Michael loves trophies. You can look at his videos and see him in the background. But who doesn't love to show off their accomplishments?
Right.
Yeah. No, you should see I have like all my medals, all my axes and stuff in my garage. And love to show them off. And I can look at any of those awards and remember that specific tournament where the tournaments I've won money at. I've never won thousands of dollars, but I've won, hundreds of dollars several times. I can't even remember where I won it at sometimes. So it's just like, I love to give away memorable awards more than money. And most of the time I feel like money detracts from the event unless it's substantial. It used to be ROTN, Rule of the Nation tournaments, Buffets were putting them on. You give away $1,000 to first place. You get John Brazing, Michael Todd. You get all those guys to show up. It would be crazy. Those tournaments back in 2007, 2008 were bigger than wall events.
Yes.
The amount of talent, you can go back and watch them on RTV. It is just insanity. The people who showed up for $1,000. Now you give $1,000, you're lucky to get the local guys to show up.
I think we're at a point where, and this is a good and bad thing, and I want to get your reaction to it because you're a promoter. So I think because of where we're at now with these big, huge events, and the elite players are kind of going there, and we'll talk about, the King of the Tables, the East First West we just had over the past weekend, Arm Wars, which, that's also an awesome event. These big events and these big money ones, the lock and loaded events coming up, you got the elite guys going there. Now, depending on how you look as a promoter, that could be a good thing and it could be a bad thing. All right. The bad thing is that, okay, now some of the guys I may be wanting to come to my tournament, I can't probably get because maybe I don't have the money to match up with these other promoters as far as, top 3 finishes. But the flip side of that, I think, and this is where I really want your opinion and everybody in the chat, I want you guys' opinion also. I also think it gives opportunity to some of the guys who are real good, but they don't get the recognition, right? Hey, give them the limelight. Now, all of a sudden, it's like you just said, hey, Michaelo came through here en route. Oh, there's Game of Arms. Hey, Corey West came through here. Oh, guess what? Everybody knows who he is now. So it's almost like, hey, you want to get noticed? Get a hold of Ryan Johnston. He'll give you an opportunity, and you got to make the most of it. I know I did. I made the most of my opportunity going to the Fallen Hills event last year, right? So it helps. It also helps that, hey, along with the Michigan State, where they got the Gorillas, they're known for that. Well, if you go to Midwest, come September, fall season, it's Fallen Heroes. So guess what? Oh, there's an axe to be had. There's always stuff like that. Not only that, but you may get the opportunity, to face somebody for one of those top road championship belts. So there is something to be had for that kind of stuff. So yes, Mr. Ryan, your thoughts on that?
So I agree 100%. I love the fact that these guys are making money and they deserve whenever they deserve to, obviously. It makes it a lot harder as a promoter without, the budget to kind of hand out that type of money whenever you want to get these guys. It's something that relationships are invaluable because I can still get Cody Merritt to come out here. Because of that relationship that I built with him. You kind of got to learn how to leverage what you have. A perfect example is I reached out to Austin Jagers, and we kind of get back to the matches here, but could still address your question. And said, hey, you want to come to Fallen Heroes this year? You're an up-and-comer. I love that. I love giving you guys a platform. You're ranked high right now. I know a guy that wants a rematch, Don Underwood. He feels like he has a shot to get you. From where he lost to you at Arnold's, and at the Arnold's, he feels like he can get you. Let's see if we can get that set up. He's like, yeah, find me a left-handed match. I was like, okay. We have Eric Gerlach. He didn't really, he's a 242 puller. Even though he's ranked really high, wasn't something that he was real interested in. He's like, what about Robbie Topi or I can't remember Ryan Espy. So that's my name, so I can't believe I forgot his name. So Ryan Espy or Robbie Topi. And I actually leveraged my relationship with you. I said, hey, Robbie Topi pretty well, don't you? You said, absolutely. I love that guy. I know his family. I know everyone. He came out and pulled me for my LLD charity event. So I was like, can you put us in contact? I don't want to just reach out to him. One, he doesn't have a Facebook and I don't have his phone number. Two, I don't like blindsiding guys. I want him to know what I'm calling about. You gave me his number. I called him. He knew exactly what I was calling about. We talked. He's actually in law enforcement, so it goes directly to the cause. And it was one of those things. I set it up, using that relationship. Kind of goes hand in hand. Robbie Topi can make money off of his name, his accomplishments at this point. Paul Italia, love what he's doing with everything. It's hard to compete with guys, Tim Talmadge, same thing. These guys doing pay-per-views. Michael Todd, I think, has found the best way to make a revenue source off of these matches. He doesn't do pay-per-views anymore. He gets sponsorships. He does the live feed on his YouTube for free. Everybody watches. He gets the revenue from that.
Yeah.
You can try and sell pay-per-views, but at the end of the day, sorry, my wife's calling me, but I'll call her back. At the end of the day, it's one of those things. However you can make the most money, and I think Michael Todd has the best way of making the money right now is, you can set it up, get people to watch, make money off sponsorships, make money off of the super chats. I mean, I think he made thousands of dollars off of super chats his last event. So I hope he doesn't go away from that, because those are people willingly giving money to the cause, making his pockets deeper for the next one to then pay these guys who deserve it. And while it's harder for me as a, local promoter trying to put on big events to get guys here, I don't think it'll last forever, because there's no money in doing it, really. I think there are winning ways to do it, but you have to be on Michael Todd's level of, following to do it. I think Tim Talmadge has a good plan set forth, and I hope that works out for him. One, I love Tim. He's a great guy.
Yeah.
And two, what he's doing to do the pay-per-views gives people a spotlight in, puts money. And Paul is the same way. Paul's, paying these guys, setting them up, putting on nice shows. I hope all of them work out. It's just who's going to fall off first whenever they realize they're losing more money than they're making. It's really who loves the sport and who's not doing it to make money, which, I've always been that way. That's why I do charity events. I don't want to make money off of arm wrestlers. I'm doing this because people, whenever I was coming up, put on shows, put on events that I love to look back on. And I want people to look back on my events the same way. And, I think if we had more promoters like that, rather than trying to line the pockets, we'd have a lot of better events out there, rather than just, plastic awards, or, not like plastic column trophies, but like cheap medals, things like that. Invest in your event and you'll have pullers invest in you. That's my mentality.
I like that. And yes, because I think what you're doing is going to sustain itself. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. I'm not going to sit there and try to predict anything, but I will say this though. How long you been in the sport, Ryan?
15 years.
And how many times have you seen events that, or a promoter come up with this big idea and, hey, we're going to run this, and all of a sudden it goes 2 years, maybe a third, and all of a sudden it flops and then it's over? How many times have you seen that?
Oh, every time that anything's come around.
Yeah. So it's kind of like what you're doing, it works. You're sustaining that. Steve Pettis up in Michigan. I got the gorillas. They know that everybody wants one. Who doesn't want a gorilla? Cool. What you're doing in the Midwest, right? In the central part, in the Plains area, okay, there's axes to be, swords to be had. Who doesn't want that? You've done, and I think I told you this on the first show when you came in last year, that, when you do that kind of stuff, it makes people, like you said, hey, if you invest in what they got, they'll invest in you. So, who doesn't want? I got Aaron Yearsley in the chat right now. He won an axe. He came in, third last year. He got him an axe that he went home with. Don't know how he got through the airport security with it, but still he got the axe, right? So exactly. So yeah, I mean, you do offer something. So, I don't want people to get disgruntled, like people as in, promoters to get disgruntled, because you got to do what you do. You can't, I think some promoters, they end up getting in trouble because they try to compete with the others, or they try to say, well, I can do it better by doing this. Do you be the best version of you? And right now you got a good thing going, which is why it's 7 years and still running, because you figured it out. This is what makes my event so cool, because of the cause, because of the trophies I give out, because of the hospitality. Those three things right there make that event and over and on. And people want to come. All of a sudden, Cody comes back. Hey, thanks for the event. I had a kick-ass time. Now people are getting a hold of Merritt. Hey, man, how was that tournament like? People were asking me, do you enjoy yourself? I'm like, yeah, I want to go back. Schedule permitting, I want to go back. I told them how good it was. And that second place medal, by the way, Ryan, that second place medal I got that's sitting up here in my box over here reminds me that I was that close to getting the axe. And one of these years, my friend, I'm going to get one. Trust me when I say that.
Those medals aren't anything to shake a stick at either. I love those medals. I mean, I have those on my case from events that I've put on and given those out. Even with the medals, I try to do something nice.
Yeah, I mean, and actually some of those medals I got, I kind of compare them. They're pretty bigger in diameter and a little thicker than some of the ones I've gotten years past from other tournaments. I mean, the biggest one I got, of course, was the IFA World second place medal I got last year. But other than that, it's a little bit on the thin side compared to yours, but it's the width is just, almost gaudy like, which is fine, but still, it's just like you see that. And that medal that you guys got, they're not light, by the way. So when you put those things on and you're like walking through the airport and all you hear is clang, 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 and all of a sudden people are staring at you, it's like, okay, I'm gonna take them off because it's drawing too much attention. Everybody's like, what's going on? I don't want to be that annoying guy walking around making a lot of noise. So, I took my medals off, went through security, put them in a box. Oh, what's this from? Oh, it's from an arm wrestling event. Oh, these are pretty, pretty nice, pretty thick, So yes, people, those medals are pretty thick and they're a little bit heavy, which is fine by me. Fine by me.
Yeah, that was actually Denise Waddles, but made those for me through her company. So, free plug to Denise and her trophies. She does a good job with those. She got those made up. If you ever need anything as far as custom medals goes, Denise is the way to go. I think, the most impressive medals that I've seen, honestly, are the UAL medals. They're always thick, and they don't shortchange anything for their events. I went out to the LA Fit Expo hoping I could win one this year, and I ran into Dallas Langston and some guy from Eastern Europe and a guy from Brazil. Didn't get one, so I was disappointed. But one of those things, you go to events to try and win these things, and you don't want to go home and be like, why do I worry about winning this thing? Whenever you want to go home, be like, man, I'm glad that's on my trophy case.
Yeah, I sat there and Bill Collins is like you. He puts all his effort into the awards, right? And he's always kept his budget as far as like, hey, first place, yeah, we'll throw out maybe $250, $300. Cool. And when I first got into the sport, that's how it was. We're talking, the U.S. Open, that always came to the Oregon coast, every springtime, every year. We always flock to that. So, of course, you got guys from Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Canada, Utah. They all come to that event. And, at that point, it wasn't about the money. I think it was more about the competition. And I'm like, oh, I want one of those medals, And then, he does the UAL ones. They're like 3D and real thick and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's when I never saw one in person until I was at Eric Waffel. You know who Eric Waffel is, right?
No, I don't think I actually do. That's surprising.
World champion out of Petaluma, California. He was like the guy left-handed back in the World Wrestling days. So I went to his house a couple years ago and stuff, and his wife is Nancy Locke, So I go to the visit, we're chit-chatting. So I had to go upstairs and, use the restroom, and I came back out, I'm walking. I walked by this mantle. I'm like going, wow. I kind of stopped, and I was like looking. And Eric's like, oh, yeah, these are all my medals and stuff. And so, of course, I saw one. So I picked one up, and the thickness was like incredible, meaning that just like you, Bill Collins takes a lot of pride in his awards. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. No, and that's the thing. I want these events to be memorable from, the time you go. Even if you don't win one, these are tough events. But if you win one, I want you to feel proud of it.
Yeah.
The award to reflect that. So, I always – and I want to circle back to, promoters kind of stacking events. One person that reached out to me this year, I've had Steve Pettis reach out in the past for events and things like that. So, so there's plenty of promoters out there that respect people. Sean Hancock reached out to me because he got a contract to do one the same day, about 3 hours away from me. So he reached out to me and he's like, hey, what can we do? And I was like, I'm set. I worked with this venue. This venue cost $5,000 for 3 hours for the space that I'm using. So they're giving me $15,000 worth of event space. So,
right.
It's one of those things. I can't move it. And, I'm pretty well established here. So it's going to be tough to compete for pullers because I got a lot of loyalty in the area. So it'd probably be better for you to move it. And so he worked with his person that he was working with and got it moved to October. So, a lot of respect to guys who at least acknowledge the events and can work with promoters. I do the same. That's why I do my event in September, because I find a date that not anybody's doing anything and schedule my event. I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I schedule it a year in advance so people can know as much as possible. And, you always get stacked, but as long as it's not, 8 hours is kind of the driving threshold I use. So if you're not within 8 hours, I'm not going to, be bummed. Like Texas State this year giving out all that money. That's a lot of attention. That's a lot of money that they're giving out. So it's hard to compete with, but I think it'll be fine still because there's plenty of pullers in Texas. It's kind of in an odd location, far from any major airports. So a lot of detractors going towards that, and hopefully there's plenty of pullers to go around.
Yeah, and not to mention, like you said, there's not a whole lot of tournaments going in September because a couple things. Number one is hunting season, okay? And then football kicks off. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, and everybody's kind of glued to some sports bar or whatnot. So you it's almost like a double bonus for you. You have a tournament in September because what is everybody doing the day of the early weigh-ins? They're watching some kind of football game or maybe the last in of the baseball season and route to the playoffs and things like that. So, I mean, the bar's packed, so there you go. How many times have you done tournaments? All of a sudden, you're in a sports bar. All of a sudden, in the background, you see a TV, but there's like a college football game on or something like that, Awesome. Know what I mean?
Yeah, sorry, I muted my phone so you didn't hear background noise. It's always great. The one downside is with college football, I used to host it at a venue that would play the local MU game, Missouri University games for the locals, and wouldn't let us play music and stuff. So I stopped using that venue after a few years.
Right.
And because I was like, man, that's, I appreciate your locals, but there's 5 of them in here, and we brought 300 people in here to eat your food and make you money today.
Right.
Maybe hope your local, your regulars can understand, because they're gonna have to come in here 500 times to equal what we just brought you for one day.
Exactly. Not to mention, it's like you could watch it at home, or but like I said, I think some of the bar owners need to understand that there's going to be some promoters that love the convention centers and things like that. Totally get that. And there's also the ones that like, okay, if I got in this sports bar, it's a win-win, because if I have my event there, then guess what? I'm bringing in revenue to their bar, because they're going to be having a lot of hungry dudes, especially if they're trying to cut weight. They want to hurry up and weigh in so they can eat, have a few beers, chit chat, eat some more, things like that. Friday night, Saturday night, maybe Sunday afternoon before, it's all done. Look how much money and the revenue that bar made. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't know if I told you this last year after the event, the venue owner came up to me and said, this was the worst day we ever had. All this nonsense. And I was like, are you serious? We had, that place was packed and everybody was eating and drinking all day. And he was like, yeah, no one tipped and all this other stuff. And, I talked to some of the waitresses, and venue was supposed to give me $750 to go towards the charity.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, keep that money, give it to your waitresses. So I went up to the head waitress. And I was like, yeah, your owner's not paying me what he's supposed to pay me today, $750. I told him to give it to you guys because he said no one was tipping. And she's like, I don't know what he's talking about. I had the best day I've had since I worked here. So I was like,
wow,
this guy's just trying to get out of paying me. But at least now his waitress knows that he owes them money, and it's never going to go back to that place, obviously. But it's just, that's another thing to keep in mind is these, us as promoters, we have to deal with a lot of stuff outside of just running the event, and, bad venue hosts, getting the venues located, things like that. It's just, a lot goes into these things, and I think it goes unappreciated by a lot of pullers. And we take time from our families to set up matches for you. We take up time from our jobs to get things set up. We spend a whole day stressing, getting everything in order. It's just, we're not doing it, especially me doing charity events, not doing it for my own pocketbook. I'm losing money each year. I think I lost $5,000 last year because I wanted to make sure that Jake Houston got money for his kidney, and
right.
SAFE organization got money for their cause. So hoping this year I can at least break even or not lose 5,000. But a lot of these people that are putting on events are not doing it for to make themselves rich by any means.
Right. And Benji Max in the house. Benji said Tony Thomason versus Mega Mike, right left hand super match, and that'll take place on the Lock and Load event on the 20th. So that's coming up, guys. So that's another awesome event. So tell me something, Ryan. I want to say September 24th, yes, for your event?
Yep, September 24th, yes.
There we go. So everybody, make sure, and you do have that page on Facebook, yes?
Yep, just look up Fallen Heroes, and I'm sure most people that I posted on every group as much as I can. I'm not trying to annoy anybody. I just know that not everybody's in every group, so I'm trying to get eyeballs on it. One other thing, Jody, I'm doing a marquee class this year, the 155 class, because I've never had a good showing for the 155 class.
Okay.
Every ranked puller that shows up from the 155, right and left-handed, I'll put $50 in a pot, and that will be paid out to the winners. So, if we get 10 ranked guys, that's $500, right and left-handed. So that's in addition to the axes. So,
wow.
I'm trying to get. Last year I gave away $2,000 to the 200-pound class. 10 guys to show up, and I was not happy. So I think this is a better way to do it. I'm trying to incentivize people to show up, giving away that money and the axes. We'll see if it works out, but I try to give a spotlight to certain classes every year, and I decided 155 this year.
Hey, I mean, and that's that's some extra incentive to go. Well, and like I said, some of those lower weight classes are probably more exciting. Everybody knows the heavyweights and super heavyweights, but sometimes it's those lighter guys that really grind and stuff. Like I think once I get off the interview with you, I might just go back because I know Joseph Drellick filmed the event. So by all means, go to MBK, Natural Born Killers on YouTube. He filmed the event last year, so last year's matches are on his channel. So feel free to go ahead and dig that up. It was just such an honor to be there and stuff. And yeah, so all you light guys out there, and I hope keep spreading the word on there and stuff. Make sure you get your butts down there because, as Ryan just said, there's extra incentive on top of the axe you may win. So there you go.
Yeah. Yep. And that's kind of the idea. Lightweight guys complain that they don't get their due enough, so I'm trying to help them out.
Okay, so you put it out there. So guys out there, I don't want to hear no mess then. Oh, we never get no, our time in the sun and blah, 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 blah. Perfect opportunity. Don't miss out. Do what you need to do, okay? So there you go. Mr. Ryan, sir, I got some other things I got to do and stuff, but I do want to thank you for joining me on the show. Yes, once again. And everybody out there, make sure September 24th is the date, okay? Fallen Heroes number 7. Ryan, anything else you want to add?
No, I'll send you the link to the event in a Facebook message, and that way you can blast that out that way and hopefully get some more eyeballs on it.
Yes, sir, I will do that. Thank you very much, my friend, and we will talk to you down the road.
Yes, sir. I appreciate having me on.
Yes, sir. We'll talk to you soon, buddy. Bye. Ryan Johnston puts on a hell of an event. And like I said, I'm at a point now in my age at 46 where, I'm not trying to be one of the elite guys. I want to pull for 1,000. I'm not there anymore, I guess, as you could say. Now it's all about, I go to these fundraising events, these charity events, these other events that mean a lot more. I'm like that because, I love to compete, but I also want to do it for a good cause, as you all know. My wife and I run a foundation for our son. There's his jersey retired in the back, right? So now I'm kind of, once you're on that side of the fence and how much work it puts in, you cherish all those other events that you go to, you cherish it a lot more. So there you have it, y'all. So Ryan Johnston, again, September 24th, Kansas City. Let's do it. All right, everybody. Forearm Friday, by the way. Thank you for joining me on the show. And you guys, be good to one another. Next time, see you when I see you. Enjoy yourself. Be good to one another.